Hey, it's Mr. Freaky. Isn't it strange how these fun and joyous themed attractions often have some sort of dark and disturbing past? Maybe it's because we analyze them closer than other places, or maybe it's just some kind of universal force trying to balance things out. Either way, there are tons of these attractions out there, and I know you would all love to hear about them. Before we get into it, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date with all the content coming out. Also, if you haven't heard yet, I have a new creepy adventure channel where we actually go out and investigate some of these truly horrific places and bring you all along with us. So be sure to click the link in the description and check that out. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1. Six Flags New Orleans, also known as Scream Park. Scream Park is the largest abandoned theme park in the world, and lucky for us, it's also considered to be one of the most haunted. While apparently no apparitions have been reported, many urban explorers who trespass there have said they feel like someone or something's watching them. Others have reportedly seen lights flicker even though there's no electricity supply running to the place, as well as hearing spine-chilling clanking noises as if someone were starting the rides up. I mean, I get it. If I was trapped in an amusement park forever, you best believe I'm riding something. Number 2. Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. The creepiness with this one all started back in the 18th century, when Mitchell Clay brought his young family out west. They established an 800-acre farm and raised 14 children there. Tragedy struck after a dispute with some tribesmen, ending with the loss of much life, including 2 of Mitchell's young boys. The property didn't get much attention again until an entrepreneur named Conley Sneedo decided to build attractions there in the 1920s. Soon after, a little girl died there on the swings, and a boy drowned in the pond. In the end, roughly 6 visitors died during the amusement park's brief history. Since then, it was discovered that the amusement park sat on top of an ancient burial ground, and most of the skeletons in there belonged to children. Archaeologists believe the remains had been there long before settlers moved out west. Some things visitors have experienced are the sounds of footsteps when no one's around, and mysterious chants in children. People also say the swings just start moving on their own. But the scariest thing to me is at one point someone somehow got locked in a ticket booth, even though the doors don't lock. That is some truly terrifying stuff. Speaking of graveyards existing inside of a theme park, let's get into the next one. Number 3. Kings Island, Ohio. Most people say the hauntings here come from those who accidentally died at the park, like the 1976 occurrence where a Lion Country Safari ranger was killed by a lion. Can you imagine a lion attack happening in front of a bunch of casual theme park goers? That's just brutal. Also on Black Sunday in 1992, a man, his friend, and a security guard were electrocuted in a fountain that apparently had some unknown electrical problems. But then the most insane thing happened afterwards. A woman who was on the nearby flight commander turned to look at what was going on in the fountain and fell out of her harness to her death. God, what an awful day at the park that was for everyone involved. Number 4. Disneyland California. Now, if you're interested in the dark side of amusement parks, you've probably already heard a bit about the things that go on at Disneyland. Firstly, and probably the most well known, is that there is a light kept on in Walt Disney's former apartment above the firehouse on Main Street. And it's done for a reason. According to legend, Walt Disney used to keep it on when he would be in there, so that others in the park would know that he was around and potentially could be watching. However, one night, sometime after his death, when a housekeeper went in there to try to turn the light off, it kept coming back on, no matter how many times she would turn it off when she left. There's also apparently real bones used to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and supposedly a kid who was dangling from the rafters when someone took a picture inside of Small World one time. Number 5. The Philadelphia Zoo. Legend has it the Philadelphia Zoo is home to numerous ghosts, which make their presence known by flickering lights and even full-bodied apparitions. Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters investigated the zoo in 2010 and encountered strange thumps and old-timey music. And not surprisingly, it is also built on another ancient burial ground, which seems to be a trend. Can people check what's underneath the ground just a little bit before investing millions of dollars into building something? Just a thought. The ghosts are said to lurk around the zoo's administrative buildings mostly, including Solitude House, which has a network of tunnels underneath, the Penrose Building, and the Treehouse. A haunted treehouse? Now that sounds pretty cool, actually. They also do these exhibits there with these weird-looking giant dinosaur statues. I feel like the place is already creepy enough. Come on. Number 6. Complex 34, Kennedy Space Center, Florida. I know this is more of an indoor amusement park, but I thought the story from here was so creepy I just had to include it in the list. The terrible tragedy of the 3 astronauts who died in a cabin fire on the launch pad of Complex 34 is fairly well known. The launch pad was immediately closed down, and now Launch Complex 34 is maintained as the memorial site for the crew of Apollo 1. In normal times, you can visit the site on official tours, but visitors who do have reported a variety of paranormal activity taking place, including a mysterious, horrific screaming. Most who visit the site also report a sudden feeling of overwhelming dread as well. I think I'll probably pass on that tour. Number 7. Disney World. As with Disneyland, there are countless ghost stories that occur throughout Disney World's resort in Florida. One tale I find particularly creepy is that many cast members who are working alone on Haunted Mansion have claimed to have seen a man with a cane riding the attraction late at night. When spoken to after the ride, this man does not respond and just disappears out of sight. The man is thought to be the ghost of a pilot who died when his plane crashed in the 1940s into what's now known as Bay Lake, which is inside of Disney World Resort. There's also the story of the young construction worker named George, who fell to his death while working in a high area of Pirates of the Caribbean. Each day, cast members say good morning and good night to George over the PA system, and if they don't do that, he makes the day extremely difficult, mostly by shutting down the ride, causing breakdowns, making phone calls from empty control rooms, and also appearing on ride monitors. Many guests have reported feeling a mysterious chill, especially in the room with the burning city, which is where it's believed George fell to his death. Also, there's a trend of guests going on the ride and yelling that they don't believe in George. Those guests have often found themselves stranded on the attraction, stuck for long periods of time due to breakdowns. So maybe that's something you should try next time you're there. I know I will. Number 8. Thorpe Park, Surrey, England. Okay, now this one is so crazy. Me being someone who's a bit skeptical about ghosts, I just can't believe this actually happened. So Thorpe Park, one of UK's biggest theme parks, actually moved a new ride to another part of the property after fears arose that they had disturbed, you guessed it, another ancient burial ground, resulting in paranormal activity. Workers building this water ride at Thorpe Park said that they started witnessing ghostly sights nearby, including what appeared to be a headless monk. There were also reports of objects being moved and workers feeling like they were stepping into these mysterious cold spots with no explanation as to why. Before moving the attraction, they decided they needed further proof and hired a paranormal investigation team, who determined by using techniques such as Ouija boards and mediums that an ancient burial ground had in fact been disturbed. Again, just check before building these things. I mean, my God. Number 9. Gulliver's Kingdom, Japan. More than anything, this park's unfortunate location is the reason for most of its problems. For one, the park was built on the edge of Japan's infamous suicide forest. In 2003 alone, 105 bodies were found in the nearby woods. And unfortunately, the location also had another deathly legacy. It was the base of operations for the Japanese terror cult Aum Shinrikyo. I know, I probably botched that. Allegedly, it was in the park where they produced the sarin gas used in the 1995 Tokyo subway attacks. Ugh, that's just super messed up. Now, there haven't been sightings of ghosts at this place thus far, but with a history like that, I just figured there's got to be some kind of paranormal activity going on. However, sadly, it was demolished in 2007, so we probably won't ever know anyway. I mean, you could go, it would just be pretty boring. I think it's just like grass and stuff. Number 10. Dreamland Park. Dreamland Park throughout its history would just continue to get darker and darker throughout time. Built in the 1930s, the park would be open for less than 2 decades before it was shut down for rampant gambling and ties to the mafia. Then in 1969, it made headlines again when 2 decomposing bodies were found in the woods on the grounds of the park. Autopsies would conclude that they had been beaten brutally, the woman dying of a fractured skull and the man being shot in the forehead. It was ultimately determined that the murder was committed by a motorcycle gang in the woods. Nowadays, if you travel Pricetown Road in Ruscombe Manor Township, you'll see the road sign marking Dreamland Park Drive. The park is just littered with no trespassing signs, old stone walls and overgrown trees with moss. But the centerpiece of the park is still visible. It's a giant carousel reclaimed by nature, which honestly, I think I kind of have to go see. And that's all 10 of our amusement parks that are actually haunted. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving other haunted amusement parks you know about in the comments, if you have any. Have a horrific evening, everyone, and remember to stay spooky, my friends.